Good afternoon. United States Vice President Kamala Harris reaffirms the U.S.'s commitment to the defense of the Philippines amid Chinese aggression in the West Philippine Sea, as well as maintaining the strong ties between the two countries. Harris made the commitment during a phone call with President Bongbong Marcos on Tuesday night, January 14, according to the Presidential Communications Office. The phone call came just a day after Marcos's trilateral phone conversation with U.S. President Joe Biden and Japan Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. Harris, as quoted by the Presidential Communications Office, tells President Marcos that it is important to her and to the U.S. to reaffirm its commitment to the defense of the Philippines, including the South China Sea. Harris also reflects on her previous visit to the Philippines, particularly her trip to Palawan in November 2022, which she says underscored the vulnerability in the region. According to Harris, this visit strengthened Biden's resolve to support the Philippines in terms of both security and prosperity. Harris also says that there is a bipartisan support within the United States Congress and within the U.S. for the strength of the relationship between the two countries. In response, Marcos expresses his gratitude to Harris, noting the productive partnership the Philippines has had with the U.S. Marcos then emphasizes that the ties among the Philippines, the U.S., and Japan have gained recognition within the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, further strengthening their collective position on pressing issues in the West Philippine Sea. Marcos also notes Harris's contributions to the Philippines, which paved the way for a strong foundation for continued collaboration with the U.S. Furthermore, Marcos expresses his desire to build on the work that the two nations have already done, continuing to be grounded on shared values and international law. The Commission on Elections announces that it was immediately stopping the printing of 73 million official ballots for the May 12 elections after the Supreme Court issued a temporary restraining order preventing it from disqualifying 5 candidates. In a statement on Tuesday, January 14, Comelec spokesperson John Rex Laudianco said that while the poll body has yet to officially receive the copies of the temporary restraining order, they will commit to fully comply with the said orders. Supreme Court spokesperson Camille Ting said that the temporary restraining order, which was effective immediately, prohibited the Comelec from disqualifying the 5 individuals and removing their names from ballots. The High Tribunal issued a temporary restraining order following a full court session in which it acted on the petitions of the 5 candidates challenging their disqualification by the poll body. They included former Caloocan Representative Edgar Erice, who is eyeing a House seat in the city's 2nd District, and Chito Balintay, a member of the indigenous peoples of Zambales, whose certificate of candidacy for governor was rejected by the poll body. The 3rd and 4th petitioners were senatorial aspirant Subair Ginto Mustafa and Charles Sabellano, who is a candidate for representative of Ilocos Sur's 1st District. Both were earlier declared by the Comelec to be nuisance candidates. On the other hand, Florendo Ritualo had challenged the Comelec resolution canceling his certificate of candidacy for city councilor in San Juan's 1st District. The High Court gave the poll body 10 days to comment on the petitions filed by Erice, Balintay, and Ritualo, and 5 days to respond to the petitions of Mustafa and Savellano. The Comelec said it would amend the database for candidates, the election management system, automated counting machine and consolidation and canvassing system, whose source codes were finalized, verified, and approved on January 13. According to Laudianco, the poll body will conduct a study to determine whether or not the changes in the election management system and database for candidates will require another local source code review and approval from an international certification entity. In addition, the Comelec will have to reprint all the affected ballots at the proper time when all necessary changes in the candidates' database and election management system have been effected, as well as the accounting and auditing of the necessary costs and wastage, including the wages of personnel, supplies, and materials, inclusive of ballot, paper, toners, and others. Impeached South Korean President Yoon was arrested on Wednesday, January 15, over his failed martial law bid after hundreds of anti-graft investigators and police raided his residence to end a weeks-long standoff. Yoon, who faces charges of insurrection over his short-lived effort to impose martial law last month, is the first sitting president in the nation's history to be arrested. Yoon had sought to evade arrest for weeks by remaining in his residential compound, protected by members of the Presidential Security Service who had remained loyal to him. A first attempt on January 3 failed after a tense hours-long standoff between the guards and anti-graft investigators working with police. But before dawn on Wednesday, hundreds of police officers and investigators from the Corruption Investigation Office again surrounded the residence, some scaling perimeter walls and hiking up back trails to reach the main building. After another few hours of standoff, authorities announced that Yoon had been arrested and the impeached leader released a pre-recorded video message. In the video, Yoon says that while he does not acknowledge the legitimacy of the investigation of the Corruption Investigation Office, he will submit himself for questioning to prevent any unfortunate bloodshed.
그러나 제가 이 공수처의 수사를 인정하는 것은 아닙니다. 대한민국의 헌법과 법 체계를 수호해야 하는 대통령으로서 이렇게 불법적이고 무효인 이런 절차에 응하는 것은 이것을 인정하는 것이 아니라 불미스러운 유혈 사태를 막기 위한 마음일 뿐입니다.
Yoon, a former prosecutor who led the Conservative People Power Party to election victory in 2022, could face the death penalty or life in jail if he is found guilty of insurrection. Yoon shocked the nation on December 3 when he declared martial law, claiming he needed to safeguard South Korea from the threats posed by North Korea's communist forces and eliminate anti-state elements. He deployed troops to parliament, but lawmakers defied them and voted against martial law. Yoon revoked martial law after just 6 hours. At least 80% of the 400 Philippine offshore gaming operators' hubs have already ceased their operations in the country, while those defying the total ban order have resorted to a guerrilla style of operations. In a public briefing on Tuesday, January 14, Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission Executive Director Gilbert Cruz said that small-scale Pogo operations in Northern Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao are being monitored. Cruz said that they are monitoring the Pogo activities in those areas, especially in Visayas, after they have received reports that small-scale Pogos transferred there. According to Cruz, the small-scale Pogos are usually composed of 20 to 50 individuals who are renting 2 rooms to conduct scamming activities. Cruz added that the sudden influx of foreigners in areas such as private resorts, as well as the rise in food deliveries, are possible indicators that there is a Pogo operation, since the operations need manpower and foreign nationals who can guide or lead them. Cruz said that the Pogos are still using foreigners who are the ones behind the small-scale Pogo operation, while the Filipinos are used as keyboard operators. Cruz earlier said cases have been filed against local executives because of their negligence and failure to address widespread Pogo activities within their jurisdictions. According to Cruz, around 27,000 of 40,000 Pogo workers in the country have already been deported by the Bureau of Immigration. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good afternoon.